Troy Corstens from Malua Racing's popped into the studio. Troy, good morning to you.
Morning, Shane.
The Warrnambool Carnival, what's it mean to you?
I love the Warrnambool Carnival. It's a fantastic atmosphere. It's always good to have runners down here. Although it's very hard, I think, you always see the local guys having a really good run down here, and I think that, you almost get a city class of horse running in maidens and 72s and stuff like that. So it's never easy, but it's always good to be a part of.
Why do you think the locals do have such a great record down here?
I'm not sure whether it's, they're trained on the track or, whether they don't have to travel as far. I'm not really sure. I just think that probably the local boys really concentrate on the carnival, and they might, if they do have a city horse, they might actually save it for this carnival instead of taking it to town.
Chatting with some of the trainers in the last couple of days, Matty Williams, perfect example. For him, to win at Warrnambool means so much. He's a local guy, does well for his branding. Does Malua see it in a similar way? I mean, is it Malua's strategy to try and have runners in as many of these main focal point carnivals as possible?
To be honest, Shane, I'd probably say it's more advantageous to us to win a Saturday city race at Flemington than it is at Warrnambool. But I can see Matty's point, and obviously being from down here, it's very important to him. But I think winning is important to us all, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. Malua's had a fantastic run in the last couple of seasons since you've evolved. You've got the base at Flemington, you've got the base at Ballarat, and that in particular has become so important to the success that you've been having. Yeah,
it has. We've got the 34 boxes at Flemington now, and we had a little bit of a quiet run last year for a while, and but John sort of predicted that was going to happen, and I didn't. I thought we were going to sort of keep steamrolling the way that we did, so we slowed down, but it's definitely picked back up, and I think the way that we've got the setup, it's really good. Ballarat basically at the moment is used as pre-training, and we race a few out of there, but it basically feeds Flemington at the moment.
How is the setup at Ballarat, and how does it differ in structure to what you've got at Flemington?
It's really good. It's a lovely little stable. It's we're on 12 acres out there. We were lucky enough to pick up 12 acres off the Ballarat Turf Club. We've got about there's 20 paddocks. So horses that have a run on a Saturday in town, we quite often on the Monday they'll spin up to Ballarat and spend the week out there. They'll still work every morning, but they go out in the paddock during the day, and we're finding it's working really well. It gives them a nice freshen. We're finding we get an extra sort of 1 or 2 runs per preparation out of them. How
big is the team for Malua at the moment, from horses and also employees?
We've got about 32 staff, I think, at the moment, and about 140 on the books at the moment. So about 60. We've got 34 at Flemington and close to 30 at Ballarat. But as I say, most of those are in pre-training.
140 is a lot of horses to have on your books.
It's quite good. I think... we'd ideally look to have sort of 160 to 180 to maintain the 2 stables at capacity. So you've got to have the new horses coming through, because, as you know, a lot of them aren't fast enough, and we do try to turn them over and pass them on as soon as we find that out.
With the success that you've had with Malua, I mean, has it come quicker? I know that you mentioned that John Sadler said, we'll have that quiet period, and you got through that. But, I mean, do you look at it as if you're ahead of the game with the success that you have had in the past couple of seasons?
I'm not sure that we're ahead of the game. I think that we've built a decent brand, and for something that's only been going 2 years, I think it's fantastic where we are. But you're always looking to get better and make things. I want to get a little bit bigger if we can, and possibly look at a stable in Sydney or something like that. But we just got to make sure that everything's working. We've got processes in place at the moment, and it's run extremely professionally. It's it's probably the most professional stable I've had anything to do with, as far as the day-to-day running and updates and buying and selling and stuff like that. So it's run very well, and you can see big things for Malua in the future. But just got to make sure that they keep going in the right way.
Do you and John have like a clear understanding of this is your responsibility versus this is his responsibility, and does it often cross over?
We sort of we work in very well together, because he basically looks after the training of the horses, and I look after owners, buying and selling. So we try not to get in each other's ways, which we don't usually, but occasionally we'll cross over, and I'm always asking his opinion. Why wouldn't you? He's been around for a long time. He's quite old, but he's been around for a long time. He knows what he's doing. So, and vice versa. If he tries to get my perspective of an owner's view, so I might say, listen, Joe Bloggs is really keen to run that horse on Sunday because he's got the day off and he wants to take his family up there. So occasionally we'll throw things in like that, but I think we're working quite well together.
You've maintained your trainer's licence, though. I mean, how important is that for you? I mean, is that something you want to keep doing for the rest of your life? Always have a couple of horses under your own name?
Yeah, I think so. I'm very, very keen and passionate. I'm on the ATA, and I want to remain on the ATA. So I'll always have a couple of horses in my name. Look, whether I'll ever become a big trainer, I can't see it in the future, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't. But at this stage, I'm very, very happy in what I'm doing. So I'll leave the training to John, and I'll just have a couple in my name.
You mentioned the ATA, the Australian Trainers Association. As a passionate member of that group, how do you see it evolving into the future? There have been, I mean, I interviewed Colin Alderson last week, talking about the steroid issue in racing. Does the ATA have an appropriate voice at the moment? Does it need to be more vocal? Does it need to have perhaps a more active role in the discussion? Because I'm not sure that exists at the moment. Yeah,
we're actually, we've got all our processes at the ATA under review at the moment. A guy by the name of Don Healy is reviewing the ATA as a whole, and we'll have the findings of that in the next couple of months, I think. But, sure, I think the perception of the ATA out there amongst trainers is not fantastic. I have a lot of trainers come up to me, and the words "toothless tiger" are always bandied around, and I'm really keen and passionate to get us up and make sure that we do have a voice for trainers out there, because we're a massive part of this industry, and I think it's very, very important that what trainers want is voiced.
I'll need to ask you, before I talk about your runners over the next few days and also looking ahead to the future, the tragedy of Miss Funovitz who died in Perth a couple of weeks ago. I mean, she was a horse with so much ability. I know that you really thought she could go and do great things this year.
Yeah, it was my darkest day in racing, actually, which is, when you put it into the scheme of things, it's not terrible. It's a tragic loss, and it's terrible for our owners. But obviously, on a personal level, we've got Phil Sly, who's in the horse, who's having his own battle with cancer. Now that's that's the real important thing that we need to think about. But getting back to Miss Funovitz, I told Phil that I reckon she's probably the best horse that I've ever bought. I know it's very easy to say that now that she's gone, but I just, she wasn't meant to be doing what she was doing. And to come out and win down the straight, she got headed. And someone said to me the other day, you never see 2-year-olds fight back like that. If a 2-year-old usually gets headed, they sort of suck out and then they finish up. And then she travelled over to Perth. She had a 10-hour plane ride. She got to Adelaide, had to come back, then went back. She settled in beautifully over there, and then she come out and smashed them in the Karrakatta. It takes a really good horse to be able to do that, and we had her insured, and luckily or not luckily, we had bumped it up significantly about 5 or 6 days before. But I said to someone last night, that doesn't bring the horse back, and I can tell you, I'd much rather have the horse back than the money.
Yeah. Is it true that Malua will not race a horse in Western Australia again?
Never say never. I mean, things like that are said in the heat of the moment, and I've got nothing against Perth racing, and I'd definitely take a horse back there. John might not at the moment, but it would never stop me taking. They really looked after us quite well, and I think a few things are sort of said in the heat of the moment that you can't sort of hang your hat on, but I'll definitely be going back to Perth. I like it over there.
You're considered to have one of the best eyes for a horse in the business. You've had some fantastic success all the way through. What do you look for when you go to the yearling, go through the yearling process? When do you actually start your regime to find the right horse to buy?
Thanks for that too, by the way. That's a lovely thing to say. I look at every horse at the sale, and I try not to look at the page. I try not to get swayed, because obviously there's stallions out there and mares that I like myself, so I'll usually talk myself into something if it's by Fastnet Rock, but I try not to look at the page. But when a horse comes out of its box, I reckon you know straight away, because it'll just smack you bang in the face, and then I look for reasons not to buy it. So if I can't find reasons not to buy it, it just keeps going up and up and up in my estimation. And there's not many of those at every sale, but we do a lot of work and pull a lot of horses out. So it's good to get the results that we do.
So was this something that you have trained yourself with, or the fact that your old man Leon Corstens, a great horseman in his own right? I mean, was that something that he was consciously teaching you to look for as you're evolving through your life? I mean, how did this come about?
My father's a funny fellow. I'm not sure that he's ever consciously taught me anything, but if you watch my dad and copy him a fair bit, you can sort of learn as you go. So I did the first 2 years looking at yearlings with him, and I just asked so many questions it wasn't funny. And then I was very lucky. Dad asked George Smith to take me around for 2 years, and George Smith is one of the most, he's possibly a freak at buying yearlings. So I did 2 years with George, and I just love it, Shane. I could do it every day of my life. I know that there's a lot of people and trainers out there that don't enjoy going to the sales, but I just love looking at yearlings. I think I could do it as it's my passion. I really enjoy it.
Have you ever thought about going down the path of the weanling process, or is that something you've done? I mean, because I've been told by a lot of people there is big differences in trying to spot a horse at the weanling age versus a yearling age.
100%, and a very good friend of mine and someone I work with, Seamus Mills, is quite good at picking the weanlings. And as we're going around at the yearling sales, I said to him this year, I want to come with you and start looking at some weanlings, which I've started doing. We had a look at probably 120 last week. And at the end of the day, I was very, very similar in the horses that I was picking out that he was. So I think it's all relative. You've just got to scale it back, and there's a few telltale signs that you've really got to watch out for.
Through the sales this year, we've seen a massive resurgence in the price of yearlings. I mean, $5 million for Black Caviar's half brother, $4 million for a Fastnet Rock horse to go off to Team Hawks. I mean, extraordinary figures. Were you expecting that sort of price point to go through the sale ring?
Look, it's great for our industry, Shane, but I can't see myself ever sort of trying to buy those horses up there. I just don't feel that there's a lot of value in buying those sorts of horses. I did it once. I got carried away and had quite a big order and bought a horse for $750,000, and I can tell you he was quite useless. And it's sort of, every decent horse that I've bought, nothing's been over sort of $250,000. So I just have a little bit of a different psyche when it comes to spending money on horses, and I probably had quite a bit more to spend this year. I did have Phil Sly on the phone, and we were bidding on quite a lot, and I just found myself saying, "Stop! That's enough. That's enough." So we got beat on. I reckon 15 or 20 horses, but I just think you can't let your ego get involved. You've got to put a value on a horse. It's okay buying a $400,000 horse, but in 18 months' time, we're going to take it to Kilmore on a Tuesday and race for $15,000. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. So I try not to get carried away when it comes to that sort of stuff, and try and buy a little bit of value.
Do you buy on spec a lot, or have you always got a horse virtually,
No,
sold?
The majority's on spec, Shane, which is it's bloody hard for trainers, because if we don't go out there and buy the horses on spec off the breeders, there's we're not going to have anything to sell. It's very rare that I get an order for a horse. I reckon I've had probably 3 in my life, but no, you've got to buy them on spec.
How tough is it then to pick up the phone and sort of rouse the troops and say, you've got to get into this one?
when you buy something you love, I find it's not too hard, and sometimes you get an inkling and you think, righto, that's a beautiful Zabeel filly, that's going to suit this guy, and then you say, oh, right, I've bought an Exceed and Excel colt, and that's going to suit that group there. So when you buy, you kind of think, okay, that guy had 2 winners last week, maybe he's up for a share, and you just got to start doing stuff like that.
Do you have to have a sort of a tough skin approach when you're getting on the phone trying to sell a horse in this regard?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's why Brad Spice is so good at it, I reckon. He doesn't take no for an answer. I sort of, if someone says no, I'll just forget it and probably never ring them back. But you do have to have a tough skin, because it's a hard game, and you do get a lot of knockbacks and rejects.
All right, looking ahead to today, you've got 2 runners in the Wangoom at Warrnambool, a horse in your name, Wild Mia, and also one in John Sadler's name, Agrippa. What can you tell us about them both?
Well, it's the Wangoom is a race that John Sadler has wanted to win all his life, and he never has. And about 6 weeks ago, because Wild Mia's been in work, we were lucky enough to get her off Anthony Mithen and Nigel Austin. And about 6 weeks ago, she started to really step up, and JD come to me and he said, listen, I reckon we're a chance of winning the Wangoom this year. And I said, with which horse? And he said, Wild Mia, the grey. And unfortunately, Nigel and Anth wanted it to be in my name. So not that I'm saying that she can win, but she'll run really well. All
right, she's a former American horse. Some American horses arrive here and really thrive, some don't. How is she going?
Well, she came in last year. The boys raced her over in America for quite a bit of success. They pulled the pin on her and decided to send her to stud last year. Unfortunately, she didn't go into foal, and then I got the phone call and asked if we'd want to take her on and give her a go. So, luckily, we got her, and she's going really, really well.
All right, barrier 20 though, she'll come in after the scratchings. Yeah. What can we expect tactics-wise? Where will she be?
Yeah, comes into 16. We'll be going forward with her. She, trialled at Flemington. She's raced forward, so we'll do the same today, and hopefully we can get across nice and easy.
Some of her best forms at longer trips. Is she likely to perhaps press on to Queensland for the carnival up there?
Yeah, we'll probably take her up there and try and fit her into a race up there and see where we can go with her.
What do we make of Agrippa? Had 2 runs back so far this campaign. Runner-up last start at Caulfield.
Yeah, we slowed him down after that. We weren't 100% happy with him, so he's had a bit of a break since then, and we're kind of first up today. It doesn't say that in the race book, but we are first up today. His form on the wet tracks is slightly suspect. He's had 1 win on the slow, but it was in a 72 at Sale. But we're keen for him to run and think he'll run nicely.
What do we make of Energia Elegante, who runs tomorrow race night at Warrnambool?
She's a nice filly that's come over from Brazil. She's a dual Group 2 winner over there, both on wet tracks, interestingly enough. So if we can get a lot of rain tonight, I reckon she can really put her best foot forward tomorrow. All
right, Jamie Mott takes the ride there. And looking ahead to this weekend, Reckless Assassin, Dwayne Dunter ride in the Adelaide Guineas.
Yeah, she's an exciting filly. She pulled up with atrial fibrillation after her Ballarat run, and she's really come on since then for 2 wins, and a little bit of a black type on Saturday will be right up her alley.
All right, and the old boy Linton. I shouldn't keep calling him the old boy. It's because he's a grey. You just make the assumption he is the old boy. But he's been a grand horse. Loved his win the other week with 62 kilos on his back. And speaking with John Sadler, he said he'd love to have a crack at the Stradbroke.
Yeah, I found that quite interesting. John said that to me a few weeks ago. I thought we'd sort of look at that 2,000 metre race up there. But, far be it for me to tell John Sadler how to train Linton, because he's done a very good job of it so far. He's just a grand horse, isn't he? I mean, he is only 6, so he's not that old, but hopefully he can be around for another couple of years.
All right, how did he come through the win?
Really, really good, Shane. He's a horse that we'd like to space his runs. He can lose a bit of weight in between runs, but he's held his condition quite well. So he'll run in the Lee Stakes next Saturday, which he won last year, and then we'll take him up to Brisbane.
Oh, it's going to be a very exciting period of time, particularly with Linton. I mean, if you could pull off a win in the Stradbroke, it'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? It's kind of, I don't think anyone would think that Linton could win a Stradbroke, but it's not out of the realms.
Troy, really appreciate you giving me so much time this morning. Good luck today. Good luck, in fact, over the coming weeks. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me, Shane.
Troy Corstens here on Racing Ahead. We'll take a break.